Okay, so this is an Arcade1Up Mortal Kombat 2 Deluxe machine. And in this video, I want to talk about the restrictor gates that come with the machines. The restrictor gates control the movement of the joysticks and allow them to move in certain directions and in certain ways. So here, I'm just checking out the joysticks. I've played on this machine many hours. I've only had the machine for around 2 months, but I definitely notice when I'm playing that the joysticks just don't feel that great. It's okay, you can play on these machines, but the joysticks are definitely a little sloppy. So right here I just want to play for a little bit so I can immediately compare the old gates to the new gates once I have them installed. So one of the problems is the gates that come in these machines are rounded and they allow the stick to kind of move freely in whichever direction. There's nothing to really stop it from just rolling to the next position when you're trying to do a move. That's one of the main problems that I have with these gates. Right there, when you jump forward, it rolls. The stick moves around and it lets you, it's not as tight of an attack going up to like a flip for, it can move either way and it can just mess up your movement a little bit. Even back, sometimes because when you're going back and forth, if you are not dead on it, see how it's loose, basically. The controls feel a little loose when you're going back and forth. Because there's all this play. Because there's not a straight line like an octagon, which is the shape of the gates that I'm going to install, which you'll see in a little bit. Since these gates are round, there's not a line or a corner to stop the joystick from moving up or down and kind of rolling out of the position that you're trying to go in. And it's like sometimes you're actually fishing a little bit for that spot, the right spot to jump. Because it's round and the stick moves on you. Like when you're going up, it can move and not let you get. I mean, of course, yeah, you can practice with it. You can play with these stock sticks. I mean, you don't have to replace them. But I'm saying, like, it's just, it feels a little loose and weird if you're used to the old arcade machines. So something else I'm going to do in this video is change out the springs. The springs that come with this machine that fit around the bottom of the joystick, they are very, very weak. And I want to put some heavier springs because when you're playing with the joystick, because the spring is so weak, the joystick is really, really sloppy on these machines. That's the best way to describe it. And putting in this heavier spring will help fix that. So here's the gates that I'm going to be putting in. These are octagonal and there are 8 distinct areas where the joystick can move to. Look at that beautifulness. I've actually recently been working on an electronic device, so I have a new appreciation for PCBs and wiring and connectors and all kinds of stuff like that. And you can see the parts that come with the machine are rounded, kind of like a square with rounded corners. So what you have to do on these machines is I'm using a flat blade screwdriver, and I'm just pushing down on this white plastic retaining piece so that I can use a pair of needle nose pliers and push off the retaining pin. And you'll have a better view of what I'm doing here in a second. I mean, it's pretty simple and self-explanatory once you see the bottom of this control panel, but I will show it again in a second. That thing will go flying if you're not careful, as you just may have saw. So here's the new spring. It's much heavier, better spring. Now you just have to put the white retaining piece back on, the plastic retaining piece, and then slip on the retaining clip. That's what I meant to say a minute ago. And snap it in place with the pliers. Just that already makes the control feel better. So here again, I got the new spring in, the heavier spring. You have to just move this white piece around a little bit so that it'll eventually go down in position like it's supposed to. There it goes. So that part is not too bad, changing out the springs. But I'm going to tell you right now, this next part with changing out the restrictor gates, I don't care what anybody says. You're going to see other videos that say, oh, this is not too hard, it's pretty easy. Well, to me, it's not really that easy. Maybe I was doing it wrong, I'm not sure. But I had some issues getting these original restrictor gates off of the control panel. And obviously you have to be very careful and not damage any wires when you're doing this, because obviously there are wires everywhere and you're working really close to them. So what I ended up doing is I took a metal punch, and I used that to push in on the little plastic tabs that hold the restrictor gate in place. And then I took a flat blade screwdriver and gently went up underneath the restrictor gate and pried up on it as I was pushing in the little plastic clips with the metal punch. You have to be very careful, because it could be really easy to break this. I didn't break anything, luckily, but I could see how that could easily happen, because you have to use a lot of force when you're pushing in on that punch, and you actually have to use quite a bit of force with the flat blade screwdriver to pry it up. So here I finally got the old restrictor gate off, and like I said, you're not seeing everything in this video of me struggling to do that, but it's, like I said, not as easy as it might look. Then you just push the new restrictor gate on. It only fits one way, and snap it in place with the clips. You'll hear the clip snap when you have it positioned correctly. And again, with these wires right next to you, these bundles of wires, I mean, you do have to be very careful doing this. Trust me, you have to be very, very careful doing this. There must be some kind of tool. I'm sure they have some kind of tool that they probably use to do this. I can't imagine how they would work on these things without having some kind of tool, because doing it like this is pretty rough, but it's the best way I found to do it with the punch and the flat blade screwdriver. Obviously, you have to be extremely careful doing this with these wires. If you're not experienced, working with your hands with tools, I mean, this might look easy, but it's not that easy. It's pretty difficult because of the control you have to have. I mean, if you slip and jam a tool into one of these wires, obviously you're going to have a major problem. So, forewarning. And that's it. Again, not as easy as it looks. Oh, feels so much better already. Yeah, it really does feel so much better when you're playing with this new gate and the new heavier spring. I mean, it makes a world of difference. It is totally like playing a different game. Oh, it feels so much better already. The joystick is way more controllable and definitely not nearly as sloppy. Oh man, so much better. You can really feel that. You can really feel that gate, and I mean it just, oh, so much better. Oh yeah. When you're right here, you see before how I could just easily slide up and go into the other quadrant of the control. Not anymore. Yeah, I'm here, I'm going forward, and that's all I'm doing. If I want to flip up, I have to put that pressure. I'm putting pressure up right now. I have to really go to that direction. And then even when you're in that direction, same thing. Because that octagonal shape, because of that shape of that gate, you cannot just accidentally wander into another area of the controller when you're trying to do a move. It really, really helps a lot. And more importantly than just helping, I mean, it's way closer to the original arcade than the stock gates that are in the machine. just feels so much better. I mean, it really does. It really does. If you've been thinking about doing this, do it, because it is a world of difference. But yeah, this gate is awesome, like I've already said. So now you have, you know, these lines, these designated areas for the stick to move. Instead of just, you know, when it's round, it just can go in any direction kind of. Now you have way more control over the stick when you're trying to go into a direction. This gate is, you have to do this. In my opinion, if you have Mortal Kombat or probably even other machines, I don't know, Street Fighter 2, I would definitely do any like fighting games. And you just have that, it just feels so much more with the springs and the new gates. It feels so much more just like the original arcade. So yeah, if you have this machine, you have to install this gate, you have to install the springs. It makes that much of a difference in my opinion. I mean, it is a world of difference. Up and down, much easier. It's not as sloppy like the other gate in that little weak spring that it comes with is, again, those are fine to play with, but I'm telling you, this is worth it. This is so much better. Even the up and down movement is just, it's not as sloppy. It doesn't just go all over the place. You know, so that's how it felt to me. Like the original components that came in the machine, they made the controller sloppy. And that's the perfect way that I know how to put it. It made it very sloppy and just not as good. By far not as good. So for the little amount of money you have to spend to do this, you have to do it.
Fatality. Fatality.